Hello and welcome to this special radio town hall meeting on integrity by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. I am Adaobi Obiabomo, the program manager at PRIMOG. PRIMOG is a civil society group with a mandate to promote good governance, participation, and accountability in Nigeria. The MacArthur Foundation supports this town hall meeting. Today's town hall meeting will celebrate Rabiu Mohammed, a 2020 integrity icon, whose discipline and integrity singled him out as a lecturer at the Nasarawa State University, Kefi. It is a collaborative effort with the Accountability Lab Nigeria to tell the stories of integrity in the public place. This program has brought together stakeholders in Nigeria's education sector and a student who also displayed integrity in one of our universities. This program is aimed at drawing government's attention to the devastating impact of corruption in the education sector, as well as the reawakening of citizens' consciousness on the need to play their part in fighting corruption in the education sector. For you listening to us out there, please remember that you are an important part of this meeting. You can watch us live on Facebook at Official PRIMOG. PRIMOG is spelled P-R-I-M-O-R-G. We will give you the phone numbers to reach us in the course of the deliberations. But do you know that corruption has contributed immensely to the falling standard of education in Nigeria from primary to tertiary? And as a parent or guardian, do you know that as little as the bribe you pay for your ward to advance from one class to another is enough to destroy him or her in the long run? How do you think corruption can be tackled in our education sector going forward? You can send your views to 0902 265 6167. That is 090 2265 6167. Let us now listen to the opinion of some citizens on the effects of corruption in the education sector, and we'll be right back to introduce my guest. So please don't touch your dial. Voices against corruption. Let the people speak.
Hello and welcome to PRIMOG's public feedback series on corruption, called Voices Against Corruption. And we ask, do you think corruption is responsible for the poor educational system in Nigeria?
As a teacher, we see them happening every day. Poor education is the cause of corruption. Right from nursery section, you see parents settling teachers to make sure that their children passes well. Children don't repeat, like in those days, when if you didn't do well, you repeat.
Corruption is the major cause of the poor educational system we have in this country. Our leaders, they use our education to toy, to settle political scores. Our universities, they are not funding them well. If you check out, if you look at our budget, you see that the money I marked for education is very, very small.
The educational system wouldn't have been so bad if there wasn't corruption. The schools ought to have been developed more than the way they are. The system itself is the problem. The system the Nigerian government operates is bad. Because when system is porous, there's bound to be corruption. But if systems are put in place in such a way that things are checkmated, then the corruption will be minimized.
Corruption is responsible for the poor facilities in my school because, for example, we don't have a basketball court. Even our lab, our science lab is not even functioning. Our class, the roof is leaking and there's not even chairs again. And then, like, let us say we are very populated in the class because of there's no chairs and the building itself. In fact, our school environment is not conducive.
Corruption plays a major role in the sense that if particular fund is being allocated for education and then those people that are at the helms of affair, they squander the money, of course you cannot see the result.
Corruption has not actually allowed our educational system to flourish in this country. Now let's start from the beginning. When we go to school, they are telling us write textbooks, read notes, write notes, and yet no practical is done. So education is completely bastardized in this country.
Corruption is responsible for poor educational system in Nigeria. Poor management of funds, and most people who are in charge of making sure the educational system is what it's supposed to be probably don't know what to do because them themselves are not well educated. So most times, whenever they are in a position to make the right decisions, they end up making totally wrong decisions.
When it comes to the school environment now, it's not conducive for the students to learn. Like in the library now, the perfected books that we're supposed to have for learning is not what we have there. And in the lab, we don't have real practical materials for learning.
Corruption is responsible. Our leaders, they don't take that sector serious. And you know what has been happening over the time. So corruption, not only that it affects the edu sector, it affects every other sector. In Nigeria today, we are suffering from that problem called corruption. And it has eaten so deep to the point that the edu sector is suffering now.
Poor education system, if you go to, for example now, corruption is part of it. If every education is good in this country, we're not going to be and say, okay, people want to travel out of this country, you study here in this country. That's number one. Number two, go to all these our schools, you see that their ceiling is bad, ceiling is faulty, the blackboard is faulty, the floor, students sit on the floor, the desks, there's no window. Teachers, for them to come to teach the students, to take them like almost maybe throughout like 2-3 hours before teachers will come. This is all part of the corruption system we are talking of.
Corruption is responsible for all these infacilities in our school. Like in my class, the ceiling is leaking, it's not even good, no fan, 4 people in a seat. But what is going on now in this country? Corruption is responsible for all these things, and corruption is everywhere. We need God to help us in this Nigeria.
Welcome again to the program. You are listening to a special town hall meeting to celebrate an integrity icon and also to tell stories of Nigerians who display uncommon integrity in the public and private places. If you are just tuning in, you are right on time as the deliberations are about to begin. Education is at the center of every nation's development. It is the foundation upon which all sectors are built. The educational structure of Nigeria has been long hit by earthquake known as corruption, which comes in various forms ranging from misappropriation of education funds, bribery, employment of unqualified teachers, poor supervision by authorities, poor teachers' welfare, poor infrastructure, misplaced priorities, examination malpractice, and so on. The present-day reality is that Nigeria has over 13 million out-of-school children, which is the highest in the world. Another 27 million children in schools are performing very poorly. Millions are half-educated, and over 60 million, or 30% of Nigerians, are not educated. To make matters worse, education malpractice in secondary and tertiary institutions is playing a key role in the decadence of Nigeria's educational system. The good news is that some Nigerians are determined to see that corruption becomes a thing of the past in our education system. One of such individuals is Dr. Rabiu Mohammed. He is currently a lecturer at the Nasarawa State University and a 2020 integrity icon. My other guests today are stakeholders in the education sector and a student who stood her ground against corruption in the university. And together, we will seek ways to change the ugly reality in our education system. Dr. Rabiu Mohammed, 2020 integrity icon and lecturer at Nasarawa State University, Kefi. Maureen Chimezie Uduma, headmistress, Rehoboth International School. Chidi Onwu Ekweipe, former lecturer at the Nigerian Law School. Prince Chimaroke, communications lead at Accountability Lab Nigeria. And Antia Enobong, a postgraduate student at University of Abuja. Let us now start today's conversation with Dr. Rabiu Mohammed, who is very disciplined. This principled lecturer will rather walk away or resign from a job than tolerate fraud or injustice. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
You were named an integrity icon in 2020. Could you walk us through your motivation in choosing to be a person of integrity, and how has the recognition impacted you, the people around you?
Thank you. If the moral foundation is strong, a man is bound to continue marching along the righteous path. Also, if a man truly worships the Supreme Being, this gives him the greatest direction in life. Basically, I am faith motivated and God directed. I've always taken my religious instructions seriously and significantly. We came to the world empty-handed, and we shall return empty-handed. As the Quran says, the eyes have not seen and the ears have not heard what God has prepared for the faithful in the hereafter. Therefore, there are far, far better things ahead than any that we can leave behind in this world. I ask, what is the life of this world but the enjoyment of its delusions? To the high-minded, the material is immaterial. So, whoever finds God finds life and a tremendous source of endless power.
So religion played a great role?
Yes, it played, it is still playing, and it shall continue to play. Then I'm also guided by the integrity pledge, which is so long, but I'll just pick a few points from it and read. I cling to the things that have everlasting value and let go cheap and vain things. I aim for the treasures of everlasting life and never get engrossed with the pleasures of this passing world.
Okay, thank you for that because of time.
Okay.
So I would want to ask, have you impacted on the people around you since you became an icon in 2020?
You know, the world over, principled people follow a path that is not popular. However, they persist and soldier on. We can only hope that others will tread the path of men and women of integrity. But because the path is very thorny, not many would like to follow it. But still, we know that the main influence on people is people. Therefore, youth have heroes upon whom they model themselves.
Okay, so you have been a hero to so many people.
That's my expectation and my
Your
hope.
Expectation and hope.
Especially as I'm teaching youths in the university. And most of them come to my office and they see the prizes, the integrity prize and the certificate hung on the wall, and they're impressed and they say nice things. But you know, not all of them will come out openly and tell you or reveal to you that you've influenced them and they would like to be like you. Not many will say so. Most of them would like to internalize your values and just practice it. So it is my hope that all those I am interacting with, especially the youths that I'm teaching, will copy my way.
Okay, not just the youth, but the person listening to you also would emulate your way. But let's quickly get to Maureen Chimezie Udoma. She's the headmistress at Rehoboth International School.
Thank you.
You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
So from your experience as the headmistress of a school, what are the main factors responsible for the failing standards of education in Nigeria? And can we adjudge the proliferation of private schools in Nigeria as a blessing?
Well, the truth is that, first of all, education is the output that gives the society maximum happiness and prosperity. Now, if this is not true, it means that the education in our society has been what? Jeopardized. Now, there are so many falling cases that has caused, the falling standard of education in our society. And the government is among, the teachers, they're among, the society itself, the children. And when you talk about falling standard, it comes from the home, first of all.
From the home?
Yes. When a child who doesn't have family value comes out to the public, what does he or she has to offer to the public? Does your family value, does it explain you telling lies? Do you train up your child the way your child should go, so that by the time your child grows up, he or she will not depart from it? Now, is what you have inside the home that you take outside?
But does the school play a role in shaping the child?
Yes, of course, the school does. Of course, the school does. And that is why, as a school, we exploit consequences. You do wrong thing, we have our punishment we give to you. When you do good things, you have a child of you are a child of high moral. You have integrity inside of you. We reward the ones that are doing well, so that it will serve as an example for those ones who are probably still coming up.
Okay.
Government has played a very terrible role when it comes to the educational, burden in the society. One, poor funding. The fund that are meant for the educational board is far, far below than what is expected. And by so doing, when you go to most of these villages where you have schools, you find out that you cry, you weep when you see schools not having infrastructure facilities, equipped laboratories and all whatnot. And you begin to ask yourself, where are we heading to? Two, you see individuals and companies spending so much on entertainment rather than the educational, sector.
So you mentioned poor funding from the government. Is that the reason why we have so many private schools springing up?
No, that is not the reason, but you also agree with me that private schools have helped to fill in the gap. They have helped in filling the gap, because most of these government-owned schools, they can't do it all. They can't take care of the teeming students. So private school, when you go to private schools, you see some of the private schools, they have modern facilities, that help the students, and you see that most of their laboratories are equipped, what you don't see in government schools.
Okay, I would get back to you. Poor funding, one of the challenges facing the public schools. Let's get back to our integrity icon. So what are you doing to stay up without compromising standard? And what is your biggest challenge in standing upright as a lecturer in the university?
Well, I try to keep my faith and focus, and then it helps if one is unworldly, when one's obsession is not about here, but hereafter. When possessions and positions don't mean anything to you, then becoming a man of integrity is simple. Therefore, to me, the best way to live in the world is to live above the world. I constantly remind myself about the teachings of the scripture. Like, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Or what King Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, that the whole duty of man on earth is to fear God and obey his commandments. And then what Jesus too said, that the faithful man in this world lives like a prisoner. He denies himself worldly things. He lives an ascetic life because he prefers the treasures of the hereafter, not here. Prophet Muhammad too said, I have been sent only for the purpose of perfecting good morals.
Okay, you just established the fact that religion plays a great role in shaping an individual. So what are the biggest challenges you have faced in standing upright as a lecturer in the university? If you could give us one or two.
Those that try to be upright are derided and discredited and even hated by the majority who tend towards corrupt practices. And then you find that those who prefer to be morally upright constitute only an island in a vast ocean of those who don't want to have integrity. Therefore, you can imagine the magnitude of the challenge involved in trying to do the right thing in a setting like ours in Nigeria, where generally doing the right thing is wrong and doing the wrong thing is right. This is really one of the greatest paradoxes of life.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me move to Maureen again. One disturbing trend in private schools today is organizing examination malpractice, popularly called special centers. So what do you think entices school owners who run special centers?
It's simple. Money, greed, incompetence. You know, when a school lacks excellence, you don't have anything to give. It's just greed, money, love of money. When you have unqualified teachers who cannot give children, students, the right maximum knowledge, who cannot impact knowledge to students, to their words, what you see is this. You know, you create an environment for people to think that, oh, your school is doing well. At the end of the day, you find out that yes, when you see a child who is taken first, for instance, in a school, and you take that same child to another school, you find that the child is coming last. How? You start wondering how. That is because something has been jeopardized.
But do we still have students who repeat class? Because I know way back in the 80s, you would hear, oh, you see a child crying. Why are you crying? He or she will tell you that I am
well, to be very
particular
honest
class.
with
So
you, these days, it's been tough because most parents are not even helping matters. You advise parents and tell parents, your child needs to repeat this class. Is it that they take that child? That is why you see most private schools don't repeat. Why? Is because they end up taking that child away from that school to another school to promote that child. So at the end of the day, when that child is supposed to repeat that class, the parents feel that that school is not teaching, which is not true.
So corruption in the education sector, the families, parents are also involved in it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for that affirmation.
You're
Let's
welcome.
get to Chidi Onwekwepe, who is a former lecturer at Nigeria Law School. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Nigeria's investment in education has been poor. Just to add to what my guest here said, Maureen, do you think that the funds invested in the education sector over the years were put into best use or good use?
Well, I'll start by saying that the appropriation for education in Nigeria has been way below the minimum standard required by UNESCO, which
and
is
what's the minimum standard?
15 to 20% of national budget. But Nigeria has been having very low, especially since this administration. 2016 was 7.9%, 2017 7.4%, 2018 7.4%, 2019 7.9%, 2020 6.7%, then 2021 5.6%. Now, our president went to the conference they had on education in UK, co-hosted by the Prime Minister of Britain and the President of Kenya, where the President Buhari promised to increase allocation to education by at least 50% towards achieving the minimum requirement of UNESCO. Thankfully, in the proposed budget now, he has increased 2022 budget. He has increased it to 7.9 from that of last year, which was 5.6. That is quite commendable. That's one. The other aspect is, even this amount appropriated, do they really release all of them during the course of the fiscal year, which is doubtful, because I know what happens in other sectors. Now, if you're talking about adequacy, it can hardly be adequate. One thing about Nigerians is like we actually like free things. You try to collect money or even increase some fees in the universities, people will complain. But you can't get quality free. Quality cannot be gotten free. Now, people that send their children abroad, they know how much they pay and they get the quality. People that send their children to private universities and all of that, they know how much they pay and they get the quality. So you cannot expect to have something that is good free of charge. If you go to
by free of charge now, do you mean the federal government should invest more in education, or parents should pay more for education?
Parents should actually pay more for us to get the quality that we need, because the money released by government goes to a lot of things like infrastructure, overhead, like recurrent expenditure in the schools, and it's not even enough.
So if government invests more in education, do you think it will reduce the corruption in the sector?
Well, corruption is an endemic situation in Nigeria. There was a time that they were saying it is poverty that causes corruption, but there was a time we heard that an employee of Shell was involved in kidnapping. So can we say that it's poverty that caused it? So we need to do a reorientation of the populace towards being satisfied with what we have.
Okay, I'll get back to you.
Yes.
Government should invest more and parents should pay more to get their children educated. Let's speak to a postgraduate student, Antia Enobong. We've heard from the headmistress, we've heard from a former lecturer, now we want to hear from a student. So as a student, you stood your ground and resisted harassment in the university. How challenging was standing against bribery and sexual harassment in the university, and what was your motivation?
Thank you very much. My motivation to stand for integrity is contentment. Like the Socrates will say, man, know thyself. As a person, I knew that I am an average student, and the best I can graduate with will be 2-1 or 2-2. And I knew that I can comfortably graduate with 2-2 without the help of anybody. So I was like, what's the essence of me sleeping with someone to get the same 2-1 I can get with my own effort? So because of that, I like, no, let me just graduate with 2-2, and I'll be fine that it was my effort.
So did you graduate with a 2-2?
Sure, I graduated with 3.3, that's 2-2.
Okay, so when you were harassed, did you involve another lecturer or you fought the battle alone?
I fought it alone because I believe that sometimes the person you are running to might be one of them. So it's better I fight it on my own.
I really commend you for fighting it on your own. But I know that in schools they set up committee if such situation comes up. You didn't want to explore that option?
No.
Wow, thank you so much for standing on integrity. Let's get back to Chidi Onwa Ekwebi. Nowadays, stories of money for marks, sex for marks, you just heard from one of my guests, and even parents pushing for assistance to enable their wards to pass exam around the tertiary institutions. So how do we get out of these challenges as a nation? Because I want to believe it's not only peculiar to the school that she attended.
Yes, it's pervasive. You didn't start today. During our time, it was there. During our time we were in school, it was still there and
Your
continues.
time, what year was that?
I left the university in 1991.
Okay, 91 is just around the corner.
Yeah, that's some 30 years ago. It has been there. So, but the problem I see is our manner of assessment in the universities. A situation where you allow somebody to take a student in a course, allow the person to decide the mark the student scores all by himself. I mean, it's tempting. Person can say, okay, give me this amount of money and pass. And that's it. Or give me your body and pass. That's it. But if we have a situation where we have a kind of collegiate marking of examination scripts that not one person decides, like what we had when I was in law school, we had a collegiate marking. We have the conference. The examiners will come together. Everybody, there are no names on the scripts, just numbers. So you don't even know who you're marking the script, and you have not interfaced with any of them. So
independent panel, kind of.
Yes, along with the lecturers and people, external examiners, they come in. The lecturers will now moderate the scripts marked by the external examiners and also some lecturers. After which they come up with the correct way to go about it. If you mark wrongly, they will call you and tell you this is the way to go. You cannot go outside of it, although there are, level of discretion allows an examiner. But then on the whole, there is a check on what you give out. Now I looked at what happens in Surrey University in the UK. Like, after marking a student script, another lecturer marks it also. Then they will bring it to what they call the board of examiners, who will now check it and then come up with what they call the final grade for each student.
So you're sure that the person is giving a fair grade?
Exactly. So it's the where we have here one lecturer who come up, say the exam for you, mark it for you, and give you the score. It cannot work. It cannot. For as long as it continues, this sets for mark and money for marks will continue in Nigeria.
Okay, so
unfortunately,
in the university,
yes,
the cadre for you to move from assistant lecturer or lecturer 1 to for you before you get to professorship, depends on the number of publication you have.
Yes.
Do you think that if students are asked to grade a particular lecturer, it would help? Before you move from one cadre, there should be like an assessment form for the students to assess that lecturer.
It could help. It could help if it is foolproof. The lecturers could also use it to blackmail the students if it's not properly checked. So now, of course, if you meet the student, they will tell you which lecturer is what, depending on how they impact them. So the students can be able to, yes, give maybe somewhat independent opinion concerning the lecturers.
Okay, thank you so much for your contribution. But before we open the phone line, let me quickly get to Antia Enobong. How often do you come across students who are like you? And who do you blame most for the standard of education in Nigeria?
I will blame the government and also the society. Let me start with the society. We are in a society where we pay more importance to certificates instead of technical skills. So when we know that you can easily buy the certificate and just get there, then there's no point in reading itself because you can pay your way there. But if the society look beyond certificate and say, okay, what I can offer,
your skills,
yes, your skills, then people will not show interest in bribing their way in or getting a certificate.
Okay, thank you so much. For you out there, it's time for you to join the conversation. Who should we blame most for corruption in Nigeria's education sector? What should be the best approach in reducing corruption to the barest minimum in our education sector? Let's speak with Chimaroke Prince, who is the communications lead at Accountability Lab Nigeria. It's good to see you again, Prince.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Okay, could you walk us through the difficulties Accountability Lab Nigeria went through before discovering our integrity icon?
Of course, we know we have over 200 million people in Nigeria. Of course, 36 states, and we work with a lot of volunteers across the nations to ensure we get as much nominations of men and women who are in the public service who are doing the right thing. I must tell you that it is rigorous because sometimes when you receive nominations and look through some of the nominations we receive, and we see that people have a misconception about integrity and begin to nominate politicians or persons who may have given them some sort of favor as against being upright in character. And I must tell you, before we narrow down to the top 5, it is quite a challenge. And over the years, since 2017 when we started, of course, when we started, a lot of people thought.
Let me cut you there. Hello?
Hello? My name is David Omaga.
Victor, let's hear you.
I want to, first of all, get the number of Dr. Rafiu Mohammed. I want to have personal contact with him. And again, we have to raise our fight against corruption with scriptures. Nigerians are religious people. They would like to relate with things with religion. That is one fight we must undertake. Thank you very much.
Okay, so like I was saying, in 2017 when we started and said we're setting out to look for men and women of integrity in the public service, a lot of people thought we were crazy because at that time, it seemed as if corruption was the order of the day, and even up until this point, there is still a lot of it. And they were wondering, is it possible to find men and women who are upright and who are refusing to compromise standards? But I would tell you that from 2017 till this point, we've been able to find or celebrate 5 men and women from across different sectors in the Nigerian public service that have become a testament that the responsibility...
Good morning.
Hello.
My name is Chinedu, calling from Suleja.
Chinedu, let's hear you.
Okay, okay, the blame is very much on government. Because if you watch today in Nigeria, we have been a private university doing very well. And all of this stressed by lecturers, bring your body in order to pass exam or payment to pass exams are very, very much less in private schools. But when it comes to government, it's just like, let me say, pardon me if I would say, just like they should wear educators anything and don't just coach, no one is there to watch them. And when they even get to more danger, and sometimes these lecturers even pass up with courses to even do more harm to students, they try to maybe report to the police to arrest them. So for me, as a public university, the government has much blame on that.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's take this other call. Hello. If you want to send a text, you can quickly send your text to 090-2265-6167. So Prince, you said it's been challenging. Some people really do not understand what it means to be a person of integrity. And this is an award that you have been engaging in since 2017.
Yes.
Not really easy getting persons of integrity. But I'm glad that we have someone here who is our shining example in the education sector. Yeah. We've heard what our panelists have said and the callers also complaining about the wrath in the sector and the need for government to invest more. So could you tell us more about the upcoming event where you will be unveiling more public servants of integrity to Nigerians?
It is very exciting for us because, yes, it's 2021 again, and we'll be celebrating 5 amazing public servants whose story have been really nothing but inspiring. Come 2nd December at the Rockview Hotel, 6 p.m., we will be celebrating these 5 icons. I wouldn't want to put out their names right away. But of course, their story, like I keep saying, have become a testament that there is a possibility that a new Nigeria is possible, a Nigeria that we can attribute values like integrity and excellence and good governance to is possible. It may not happen immediately, but I am confident by the quality of these men and women and their unwavering character, I can tell you for certain, maybe in the next decade, we would begin to see some tangible change. I would want to add, we're in a generation now where people learn more by what they see you do than what they hear you say. And if I were to buttress that point, it says action speaks louder than words. And so when I look at Mr. Rabiu, when I look at Dr. Egbolo, when I look at Mrs. Kachilum at a community school in River State, or I look at Tina Ordinaker at University of Jos,
or CSP
Francis, who is a police officer who had not received bribe. Alone, I as a person, before accountability lab, used to think maybe there is no hope. But working closely in the process of finding men and women of character has given me a renewed hope. In fact, I can hit my chest to say I'm a big believer that a new Nigeria would come. A new Nigeria where we can all be proud of, our children can be proud of. It may just be time. But I'm sure that if all of us do our bit, if all of us, like Mr. Rabiu, like the rest of these amazing icons, begin to live their life in character, people would emulate them even unconsciously.
Okay, so in 1 second, if I feel or I know that I am a person of integrity, is it possible for me to nominate myself? Okay, let's get to... Hello?
I'm calling from Buhari.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, my contribution is about the history of the parents. What a child say to draw the standards of withdrawing the child of the people. One thing that leads to that, looking to the high cost of the school. Imagine a parent who is paying as high as 300,000 naira per term. for his side, and after he owns pen, which is 3 cents, approximately 900,000 naira, and you want that fine, that parent to pay that same money again.
So now you prefer your fund, your money, to the quality of education that that child would receive?
No. What I'm trying to say is like, if there is a way the government can even come in, because even the public schools are not even helping, and the private schools are so expensive. So if the government can come in, either that they can subsidize this school so that everybody, because the school rate, especially in Abuja, there are schools that pay more than 500,000 naira, and imagine that parent to be comfortable, and even the school, the curriculums are changing. The teachers are not even those schools find out that the teachers will not even perform their best. But if you go and find out schools that pay as high as 300,000, 500,000, they don't pay their staff well. They don't pay the teachers well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's good that we have a headmistress here, but I would say that it's not as if I failed, but I needed to move from one school to the other, and my father insisted that I must repeat a particular class. I know how I cried. Daddy, no, when I travel for Christmas, what do you want me to tell my peers? No. My father stood his ground. You must repeat. And today, I am happy that I repeated that class. Back to my guest in the studio as we wrap up. Let's take recommendations. Dr. Rabiu Mohammed, like I said earlier, is a 2020 integrity icon and a lecturer at the Nasarawa State University Cafe. From your practical experience, how much damage has corruption caused our educational system, and how can we kick corruption out of the sector? Let's say if you can answer that in 1 minute.
Corruption indeed has done a huge damage to education in this country, right from nursery schools through primary school through the secondary school. We know that generally it is money that works, such that you cannot even trust the grades that your children bring home, whether they really deserve them or not. So as to what can be done about it, we need a moral reorientation, an ethical reorientation, and attitudinal change. That's what we need. And then we should imbibe the teachings of our religions, especially Christianity and Islam. Not just study them. Like he said, lead communication specialist said, example is better than precept, something like that. I also put it this one and say exemplification is better than eloquence. It's not just about maybe preaching what is right, but doing it. It's not just about proclaiming you are a Muslim, but not carrying out what Islam says you should carry out. So we need change of mind, and we need to pay closer attention to our religious teachings, and those teachings should show in our lives.
Thank you so much. We need to pay more attention to our religious teachings. Thank you so much, our shining example, Dr. Rabiu Mohammed. Now let's quickly move to Maureen Chimezie Uduma, headmistress at Rehoboth International School. Before I ask you my question, I would like you to respond to the last caller who said that private schools, they charge, the school fees are very expensive, but the teachers are not paid well. How true is that?
Well, I don't know where he's getting that from, because a school that has school fees for 300,000 and your motto determine the kind of teachers you should have in the school. So if you say that your word, the teachers, they are not well paid. They are not well paid. How did you get your facts? How did you know that? That is one. And two, if you think that the school is, they have their increment in school fees, why not just take your child to, a school
that you can afford?
Because now the problem is most parents want the school to bend the rules and regulations for them, because this is what they want, because of the way sometimes they come and they can afford the school fees. Sometimes they have this pride in them, and when you try to talk to them about their child, some of them we see kids who need extra hands, and we try to avoid parents, but sometimes some of them are so proud and feel that no, you shouldn't be telling me that.
Okay, so the parents also should be blamed in this.
Yes, basically it's the parents that has all. See, there's a way you as a parent react to a child. The child knows that, oh, daddy wants me to do like this, and it stays like this. Ours is to make sure that when we see something that is not right, we do what? We'll call the parents' attention and say, sir, ma, we would like this to happen, we would like that to happen. It's not left for you as a reasonable parent, responsible parent, a parent with value, to say, yes, okay, ma, sir, how do we go about it?
And I hope that parent listening to you would change their behavior if the school draws their attention to some of the behaviors of their children. So as the headmistress, what are you doing to ensure that your school is not used as exam malpractice center? And how should private and public schools resist parents who demand special exam favors for their wards?
Simple.
In 1 minute, if you can wrap it up.
But simple. Make sure that your motto stands. My motto in my school is character and knowledge. It should be earned. On no account should any parent make you do otherwise. If that parent comes and tell you, do this, when you know as a school, as a teacher, this is the motto, this is what you stand for, and the parent comes and tell you, do this and I'll give you this, you are not worth to be a teacher.
So the school...
And the school itself, it should be shut down. Any school that practices malpractice and, special center. You don't want to be a school. Why are you a school? Why are you a school? It's obvious that because the opposite of corruption is integrity. So if you are not going to show that as a school, please shut down.
Thank you so much. Please shut down if you are not ready to impact knowledge. And if you want to compromise, please just shut down so that parents will take their wards to schools that are in there to impact their kids with knowledge. Thank you so much. Let's quickly move to Chidi Onwe-Kwebe, who is a former lecturer at Nigeria Law School. So do you think Nigeria's education standard will be better off if there is very stiff punishment for defaulting students, parents, and schools in the conduct of exams?
Yes.
In 1 minute.
I always believe that fear of sanction is what makes somebody a better person. The man on the street of London is not different from the man on the street of Abuja. The difference is that the man on the street of London knows that if he does wrong, he'll be punished. But here, we always have a way to find, to sidetrack the system. So if they know that there's consequence for what they want to do, they will not do it.
Thank you so much. Consequence for corruption. Let's move again to Antia Enobong, a postgraduate student at University of Abuja. What is your advice to that student who is facing one form of threat or the other and may be thinking of compromising on their standards? And what is your advice to that parent out there who is listening to you? In 1 minute, please.
Okay, I will say don't compromise.
To the student?
Yes, because I could recall when I went back home, I cried. I told them that I'm likely going to have carryover, like I'm going to repeat school, like. So they were like, okay, let's see how it goes. Then we went into prayer. Then I tried my own, as in I did my best to make sure that at least I could graduate with 2-2. So I would say don't give up and be wise. When I would say be wise is because sometimes you don't need to say no, I'm not interested, or yes, I'm interested.
You should be diplomatic in the way you respond.
Yes, because if you tell the person no, the person will just feel, oh, this one is now my enemy. But if you also say yes, the person will feel okay. So the best thing, what I did was, okay, no problem, sir. Okay, when I will see, the person will fix the date. Then that day I will say that I'm sick, or I'm in church, or one thing, but there must be something.
So you just kept on driving the lecturer from one day to the next,
and the day was like,
got tired.
So you think, yes, as in, it's like graduated. It was like, so are you, as in, what are you doing? You think you're smart? I said, no, sir. As in, who am I to try this with you? No, sir, that I was actually sick, or I was in church, and that was how, before you knew it, I graduated.
Thank you so much. So that person listening to us as a student, do not compromise. Thank you so much, Auntie Enobong. My final guest, Prince Chimaroke, Communications Lead at Accountability Lab Nigeria. We have Dr. Rabiu Mohammed from Nasarawa State University, And we have another integrity icon. I'm so proud of her, Dr. Magdalene Ibulu at the University of Abuja. How much of your searchlight is beamed for more good teachers or lecturers to join the club? In 1 minute, please.
All right. Our searchlights are all over. Sometimes we don't even know who make it to the top 5. But for every time we get nominations, I can tell you that a crop of teachers from nursery level to the university level who are men and women of character and are doing the right thing. And we're doing our best to ensure, like I said, we had a discussion back in the organization because we only celebrate 5. And there are a lot of other stories that didn't get to see the light of day. And we said, maybe from next year, we may start shining the light on all of these other ones so that people can hear more inspiring stories, especially maybe of more teachers or people who are in the educational field.
Okay, thank you so much, Prince Chimaroke. We have come to the end of this special town hall meeting to celebrate Nigerians of integrity. We sincerely appreciate our shining example, a 2020 integrity icon and lecturer at Nasarawa State University, Kefi, Dr. Rabiu Muhammad. We also appreciate Maureen Chimezie Udoma, Headmistress, Rehoboth International School, Chidi Onwe Kwebe, former lecturer at Nigerian Law School, Prince Chimaroke, Communications Lead at Accountability Lab Nigeria, and Antia Enobong, a postgraduate student at University of Abuja. If you have a message for us or you want to react to what you heard on the program, please reach us on 09022 656167. That is 09022656167. Please visit the news page of our website, primorgnews.org. That is primorgnews.org for all the details of our reports and interviews. Visit our website, primorg.org, to get all the information about Primorg. This town hall meeting on integrity is ably supported by the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. Get more information about the foundation at its website, macfound.org. Many thanks to the Primorg team for their wonderful work. The executive producer of this town hall meeting is Okiria Agbonsuremi. Don't fail to report corruption when you see it or encounter it in any form. I am Adaobi Obiabomo. Thank you.